Welcome to the Thursday edition of Take 5 for Torah. That means that we're going to discuss some element of the parasha, and it's related somewhat to what we spoke about yesterday regarding the mezuzah, where inexplicably the Torah reverts back to singular in the second parasha. And indeed, there's so much that is similar between the two parashiyot, the one that begins V'hayayim Shemoah Tishmu El Mitzvotai, etc., and the one that begins V'ahavta it Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol meodecha. So that is the first parasha, which is in Parshas V'eschanan, and the second one is in Parshas Ekev. And there's another very clearly defined feature between the two, is that the second one is much longer. Right? So the two main features are that the first one is in singular, second one is in plural, and the second one is much longer. What makes it much longer is that there is a section of reward and punishment in the second one that does not appear in the first. The reason for the reward and punishment in the second, I can say, is twofold. One is that as a result of performing God's will, the Torah tells us that I'll give you the rain in the season, you'll be able to gather all your grain, and then it says, V'achalta v'savata. You'll eat and you'll be satisfied. But when we get satisfied, throughout Sefer Devarim, there's always a warning. Hishamru lachem pen yiftel levavchem. Be careful, because a satiated stomach often turns against God. Vayishman yisharun vayivot. We became fat and then we kicked back at God. V'rom levavecha v'shachachta es Hashem. You became haughty as a result of your riches and you forgot God. That often happens together. It's a great test of moral fortitude to have such wealth. So the Torah continues with that theme. I will reward you, but be careful, because if part of that reward makes you become so satiated and so wealthy that you cannot return to your roots of chesed and avoda and Torah and tefillah, then I'm sorry. Idolatry is the next step. God will be angry with you, and the next step will be exile. So this long section in the second chapter is not found at all in the first. And the Ramban says that this is a sign that reward and punishment, while is certainly a mainstay of our faith, that God has expectations of us, and God rewards us and punishes us. But on an individual basis, there could be many exceptions to what we expect. God tells us to pay our workers on time, by the end of the day or by the morning, but God doesn't always pay us on time for the work we do for Him. I always expect that what I do for God is good for my body and soul, but I certainly don't do it on the condition that I be rewarded for it, so that if I don't see any reward or anything positive as a result, that I regret doing it or I call back my mitzvah or my tzedakah or whatever else. But I certainly expect that when God promises me all these good things that will happen to me as a result of performing His will and being His worker, I expect that in some form or another it will make its way to me, or perhaps my descendants, maybe 500 years from now. But somehow, the work I did will be paid. That's what God expects of us. And frankly, the Gemara allows us to expect that of God. But it does not always play itself out on an individual basis. This is why we like to pray in public. We like to pray with a tzibur. The tzibur is more likely to be answered. This is why we say the Yud Gimel Midos in Slichas on Rosh Hashanah time, Slichas time, always with a minyan, to add the schus of the minyan. Right? And in addition, the Torah says, B'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha, with all your heart and all your soul, u'v'chol me'odecha, for individuals. Whatever me'odecha means a lot of different things, but it means more than anything else. B'chol ha'ma'od shalcha, if you will. With all, even your life, with every bit, every midah God gives you, everything, unconditional love for God. But it doesn't say it in plural, B'chol me'odchem. It only says B'chol levavchem v'chol nafshechem, but not B'chol me'odchem. It's too much to ask the tzibur, to ask the masses to love God B'chol me'odchem. Individuals, maybe. This is just one or two explanations of the difference between the two parshas, one in last week's parsha in Veschanan, and one in this week's parsha in Ekev, both of which are in the Tefillin and the Mezuzah, and we appeal to these differences.